All right, today we are talking about how your past might actually be keeping you stuck. Because most people believe if this happened to me, then this is who I am. But what if that's not true? What if who you think you are is actually just a repetition, a loop of what you've experienced? What if your past isn't defining you, but your nervous system is replaying it? If this resonates, stay with me because this is the work we're doing here. Not fixing the past, but changing your relationship to it. So try this on. And if you're here, let me know. Put a comment below, like, subscribe, share this. This is really how all of this grows, how we all grow and expand together. And I really invite you to check out some of the past teachings as well. I've done quite a few thus far. They can be found on the Substack or my YouTube, or find me on socials. And yeah, here we go. So the illusion is that the past equals you. Your past happened. Yes, right? We can't dismiss that. All of the pain, all of the trauma, the abuse, whatever it was that happened in your past, it is all very real. And I'm not diminishing that. But the truth is, who you think you are was shaped by what you experienced. And that's not a punishment. Your identity formed around your past. But that doesn't mean it's you. You're not defined by your story, but you're defined by your awareness of it. And so your mind, it's going to continuously repeat because it doesn't remember truth. It doesn't remember truth. And think about it this way. Have you ever had a conversation? I know this happens for me when it comes to things in my childhood. And so let's take that for instance, right? You have a conversation with your mom, and she says, "No, that's not what happened." And you say, "No, yeah, that's in fact what happens," right? And so, what is that? Right? You're remembering a version of what was true to you based on how you felt, same as your mother. But the reality is, there's no right there because your mind doesn't remember truth. It remembers how you feel. And so your mind is constantly running on these patterns that just repeat. They just repeat. It doesn't remember the truth. And so that is something so important, and it helps to really free us because it doesn't remember the truth. It doesn't. It remembers what was felt and what was practiced. And whatever you assume, whatever your assumptions are, they harden into facts. And so if you assume this always happens to me, or it's just who I am, of course this would happen to me, that becomes factual for you. It's the same on how we perceive or receive anybody else. How we assume them to be is how they are to you. But that doesn't make it reality. It's simply repetition. And you remember your version of the story, but not the truth itself. And this is where freedom lives. This is the work that we're doing. When we can fully embrace and embody these teachings, our lives, your life, will shift. And if you don't believe me, it's cool. Try it on. What do you have to lose? It hasn't worked for you thus far. And the reality is, we do have to just let that shit go. It seems super simple, and it is. I get that it's not that easy, but it's up for you to really, again, embrace and embody and try these practices on. If this is triggering you, then you really need to watch. You really should. Your body is asking it, right? You're just rejecting it based on your ego because your nervous system is engaged. Memory lives in the body, in the nervous system. And so this is where it really starts to get deeper. Your memories, they're not stored as facts, but they are stored as sensations and feelings, tightness, contraction, urgency to do, and fear. Fear is just a huge one. And so right now, just relax. Just drop your shoulders. Soften your face. Just soften as often as you can. I was watching this reel the other day by another, teacher that I follow, Kevin Trudeau, and he says, if you're stressed, well, first of all, he said the reel started and it said, relax your face, and if you needed to relax your face, you're stressed. Your nervous system's already engaged if we're not soft or softened. And so to expand our capacity is to practice softening as often as we can. So we have a greater capacity to respond. Excuse me. Excuse me. So time in our nervous system, well, time exists in our nervous system as memory. That's how it exists within us, as the memory. But remember, they're not facts, right? And so your nervous system does not know the difference between the past, the present, the future. It doesn't know time. Something that happened to you 30 years ago, your nervous system is still reacting to in the here and the right now, based on something in the past. So it simply doesn't know. It only knows what feels familiar and what feels safe. And this is why we will continue to stay stuck. Because if we don't come from a regulated nervous system, if we don't move past the nervous system reactions, we will continue to snap back to what feels familiar and what feels safe, which is why you cannot just claim that you want to change your life and watch it change. It won't change. It may for a small amount of time, but your nervous system will snap right back to what feels safe and what feels familiar. It's the same reason why new relationships, you release an old relationship and you never want it to be the same. But if you haven't changed who you are, you're just going to recreate it. It may feel great the first couple of months because most relationships do, right? But then you're going to snap back to what feels familiar and what feels safe. And if you don't believe me, try it on. Look at your life. This is all just an invitation to look at your life, and not with it's not an invitation to look at your life with shame, blame, and guilt. That is never anything. That is not something that I'm teaching, sharing, speaking towards. But it is to see it as a sort of choice to move forward. And it is so beautiful when we make these conscious steps towards softening, releasing these traumas, softening our nervous system, allowing ourselves the greater capacity to hold, because then we really can change and shift. Who do you want to be? You can be that. The only thing stopping it is you and your identity towards the past. It's what's keeping you stuck. Your nervous system is what keeps you stuck because it's the gatekeeper of every experience you have. And so it's constantly seeking, asking, filtering, can I hold this? Is it safe? Is this familiar? And if not, it's going to snap back to what is safe and familiar. And that's why you repeat patterns. You recreate relationships. You have the same money relationship. You have the same struggles. You feel stuck. It's not because you can't change, but because your system can't hold the change. And that's why we feel stuck. That's why we're on repeat. That's why we feel like we can't move forward. That's why it feels like we can't change. Because if we're not regulating our nervous system within the change we seek, zoom, we're snapping back to what's familiar and what is safe, even if it is not even safe. But the illusion that we've created, this is the work. And this is just, it's so freaking powerful when you embrace this. When you understand you're not the victim of your past. Yes, it happened. I have so much love for you in your past. You're so brave for coming through it, for experiencing all that you experience. You got to let that shit go. It's not who you are. You have choice. You have power. And the truth about your past, where we really start to really shift it, is your past, it doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. It only exists as your memory, the sensation or feeling, and in your identity, in your self-concept. And when you keep identifying with it, you keep it alive. But when you can release it as identity, well, that new energy, that stuck energy that was stuck before, now becomes available. And then everything is possible. Creation. You now have space to allow more expansion. You can have, be, and do anything that you want when your nervous system is regulated enough to receive it. And it is so beautiful and so freeing. Why stay stuck? You were the reason you were stuck. You're holding on to the past. Let that shit go. It was meant to happen for your highest evolution. And when you can really embrace that, when you can take 100% responsibility for that, you know, everything that wants you or everything you want wants you. As a teacher I follow always says, good, better, and best is always seeking you. But can we allow it? Do we have the capacity to hold that? And not if we keep identifying with the past. Who you believe you are is who you are. Who you believe you are is who everyone else thinks you are. Because your self-concept, who you think you are, your nervous system, that equals your life right now, as it is. And so if you think you can't have it, you won't. If you think you can't do it, you won't. If you think you can, and your nervous system isn't safe enough to receive it, you won't. You'll snap back. And that's why shifting and changing feels so hard. It's why you've tried all of these books and these courses, but it hasn't really shifted much, has it? Some, I'm sure. But if we don't come from that calm, regulated nervous system, we cannot hold more. We simply cannot. And if you don't believe me, try some of this on. You know, this is such an invitation to look at your life. Who do you want to be? And I posted a video 2 or 3 videos ago about that. Who do you want to be? And then everything that every future response is when we pause, we can respond, which means we've softened our nervous system, which means we can actually think, we can actually feel into, is this bringing me closer to the person that I want to be? When we react, it's not. That's the familiarity. That's the safety it snaps back to. And so your self-concept dictates your life. Who you think you are is who you are. And your nervous system is continuously reinforcing that because of what is safe and what is familiar. This is the work because it is an inside job. This is for you. You become who you are regulated as. You become who you are regulated or dysregulated as. If you're constantly dysregulated, you're creating a life around that of fear, of gripping, of anxiety, of stress, of overwhelm, of constant urgency. We're not meant for that. That shouldn't be our life. We should have the most beautiful, peaceful, calm, loving existence. That's why this is the work. Try it on. You become what your nervous or who your nervous system is regulated as, not what you want, not what you visualize, not what you affirm, not your affirmations, not your vision board, but what your system, what your nervous system can hold. And that's why nothing has worked before, because you cannot build a new life from a past story. You cannot build into this new reality from the dysregulated nervous system, which is why you continue to snap back. It's why things aren't working around you, within you. You cannot think, I just want to change and it will be so. It's not an intellectual thing. It is a nervous system regulation or dysregulation. You are not anxiety. You are not stress. You are not overwhelmed. You can continue to watch all these reels and share them all with your friends about how your anxiety and how you have OCD and how you have trauma and how you have stress. And I honor all of that, but you're going to continue to recreate from that. It's not helping. What, so people can identify with you greater? What about you? You need to be the one to change your life. It's not coming from a reel if you don't practice it. Dysregulation. I just talked about this in the last one, and I really recommend for you to check that one out. It's such an invitation for it. I went all through how we can understand that, when we become dysregulated, because that's half of it. If we don't know when we're dysregulated until it's too late, kablowy, right? We are just a reaction. It's like we're Acme, we're TNT, we're like the old Wile E. Coyote. But if you can catch it, at the start, then you can show yourself safety in your nervous system. And that's when you can change the state. You can change your self concept. And you'll know you're in it when your body feels tight. Just soften right now. Soften with me. Something that I practice that I learned from my teacher too, Philip Andrews, is he says to soften your brain. And I often do that because it feels so empowering and so free. And so really, if you just take a minute and just think about your brain, it's probably all closed up and tight. And just imagine it softening and opening like a beautiful lotus flower, just petal by petal. And it feels so amazing. We don't need to continue this stress culture, this overwhelm, this need to do, to do, to do, to do. It's not helping you. You're just continuing to come from this dysregulated nervous system. And your life will continue to repeat. So again, your body feels tight, right? Tension. You're overthinking. You're just thoughts. They're running rampant. They make you feel chaotic inside. The need to control outside of yourself is huge, huge. Drop your ego and think about this. I often bring up driving in a car because that is where we can really see ourselves, and no one has to be there. But your need to control where something is, your need to control other people, your need to control the weather, and then feel bad about all of these things, that is an unsafe, dysregulated nervous system. And it has nothing to do with anybody else. But we have perpetuated that it is. You need to change. You need to not leave this here. You need to drive differently. You need to respond to me differently. You need to text me. You need to show up. You need to not say that to me. It's you. Because this is not truth. But all of these things are your system seeking safety, and they have been for years. For years. But it's time. It's time now to soften, to not attach to these constant thoughts of the past. You can do it. I know you can. You create from what you attach to. So if we soften our nervous system and we allow space to pause, then we can respond. When we respond, we're coming from a calm nervous system, which means we are showing our nervous system a new sense of safety, a new reality. We are not our traumas. We are not our abuse. We are not what has happened to us. But we can change. You can change. What you can actually do is you can increase your capacity, because your body, again, is the gatekeeper of your future, and your nervous system is deciding what you can and cannot hold. If you can't hold it, you can't create it. It doesn't matter what you affirm every morning, your mantras. If you can't hold it, you can't create it. And so the work to try on is expanding your safety, softening, pausing that reactivity, and releasing the identity of who you have become based on your past. You are beautiful. You are abundant. You can have all of the wealth, the freedom, the love, the love, the love. When you can expand, when you can create space within your nervous system. And so if this is landing for you, which if you're still here, I trust that it is, try this on. Try it on, and I will continue to teach this. And if there's something else you want me to share on, drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments. I don't come from this from a script. I come from this from living it. Nothing has changed my life quicker and faster than calming my nervous system, by creating space, by changing my self-concept, by changing who and what I think about myself. And the evidence is there just to show you. You don't need to wait for permission. No one will give it to you, right? If you're here, it's for a reason. Watch some of the other teachings. They will help you. Try it on. And so to practice this, right? Next time your past comes up, pause. And gently ask yourself, not with shame, blame, or guilt, but soften as much as you can. Am I identifying with this right now? You can ask yourself what I'm feeling in my body? And is this familiar or is it true? And then with that, you can take a breath and send it love. Send it love. You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to attach to it. Send the thought love, allow it to be there, and then let it go. Give it to God. Give it to whomever, whatever deity, you know, give it away. It's not yours anymore. Soften. You're just noticing and let it move. Let it be there. Send it love and release it. That's how you create safety. That's how you create space. It's an inside job. It is an inside job. And it's waiting for you. We are moving into this beautiful age of energy. And I know you can feel the shift in the world. Forget about the world. It's all fear. You want to change the world? You're worried about the world that we live in right now? Do this work. Do this work. Let the rest of it go. It's all outside of you. You can't control it. If you want to be the change you see in the world, Gandhi, right? Create a totally lost my train of thought. You create from a calm, regulated nervous system. You have a self-concept of who you want to be. You let go of the past. You become non-reactive. Can you go a day without becoming reactive? I have bunnies. Sorry about that. Can you go an hour without reacting? Can you go 2 hours without reacting? I don't know. I'm asking you. The more that we can catch ourselves reacting and pause, the more safety we're sending to our body, the more that those traumas, those wounds that are surfacing can step aside, because we have to show our body what is new and what is safe. Nobody taught us this when we were kids. Nobody taught us this when we were going through our divorce. Nobody taught us this during abuse or after abuse. Nobody taught us this. So we have to do the work. You have to do the work. Watch your life shift. Watch your life shift. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not define you. It only has the power that you give it when you continue to identify with it. Your past doesn't exist anymore. That was you coming from a different space and place of time. That was you coming from your level of awareness at that time. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, it doesn't matter. Blame, shame, and guilt. What's the point? You didn't know anything different, so let that shit go. It doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. You know, if someone tells me this is what I said 2 years ago, I'm like, great, I did. But that doesn't mean I identify with it now, because I was a different person back then. Let it go. Past doesn't exist anymore. Only the memory does. Only the sensation does. If we keep feeding it, if we keep snapping back to that familiar, dysregulated nervous system. And if the memory exists, the sensation does, well, those can change, because you are not your past. You are not your story. You are the awareness noticing it. And from that place, you get to choose again. You get to create again. You get to become something new, something extraordinary. Miracles happen when we have the space. It's so freaking exciting. It's so powerful. If this resonates, follow along. Subscribe. Let me know you're here. This is the work we're doing here. Try it on. And if you're ready to go deeper into your nervous system, your patterns, your identity, those spaces are open. I have one-on-ones available. I'll be creating groups soon. This is the work. Let that shit go. And try this on. Try this on. With so much love from me to you. You're brave, you're strong, and you're ready. You're ready. So cheers to your expansion, your creation, to you.